Okay, we want to pick up where we left off after the invasion of Poland, because many people were surprised by how quickly Poland falls to both Germany and the Soviet Union as they divide that place in half. And then once war is declared, everyone's ready for this large war to break out. In the end, it's not what. In the end, that's what happens. But initially, things get really quiet, and they talk about this phony war for the first couple months of the war as Germany goes silent. There's no more attacks, and everyone's kind of like waiting for this war to break out. Well, it's going to break out then within a couple months as we lead into the 1940s. Germany is going to invade Norway. Then they're going to lead in the Netherlands and Belgium, and eventually they're going to attack France. Now, France had put all its stock into this Maginot Line. This, as you can see in the map here, on the notes, the fortification along the German and the French border. That fortification on that line was a series of bunkers and forts, and they thought were modern and would defend them. The reality is they're putting all their chips in this defense that eventually is going to be penetrated by the Germans. They're going to go around the Maginot Line. They're going to go through the Ardennes and the woods, which the French had just thought were going to be unpenetrable by these modern forces, and they're going to show up on the other side of the Maginot Line, and then they're going to move quickly on to Paris. So one of the lessons of the collapse of France in the early stages of the war is going to be this issue of is going to be the issue of just not being prepared and not planning appropriately, because they're going to move through France quickly. The British are going to run for Dunkirk, and they're going to move their army and forces back to Great Britain out of France as they're caught off guard. The Germans pour into France, and and Paris is going to be taken, and it's going to collapse. And so, to the surprise of everybody, France is going to fall rather quickly, and is going to be divided. Much of France is going to be occupied by the German army. They set up a pro-German French government in the southern parts of France, known as Vichy France, and then the French government leaders that fall, many of them flee to Great Britain to try to create a government in exile. This doesn't say that the French don't give up on resisting. The French within France, many of them form the French resistance. They carry out guerrilla warfare and attacks against German forces. But after the fall of France, the only real ally that stands a chance against Great Britain, against Germany, is going to be Great Britain, and the Germans are going to try to take them out to close that second front, because that's kind of the goal of invading France. Let's close that second front. Let's secure territory in Europe. Great Britain, though, cannot be attacked by blitzkrieg. It's an island nation. There is the English Channel separates them. The only way to invade Great Britain is by sea, an amphibious invasion. It's slow. It's going to cost a lot of casualties, and the Germans and Hitler know that. And so they try to weaken Great Britain's ability to protect itself by attacking its military targets from the air. And eventually that campaign is going to turn into targeting civilian targets from the air and bombings. And this Battle of Britain that occurs here in 1940 is fought between the British Air Force, the Royal Air Force, and the German Luftwaffe, and its complete aerial campaign. Now, the British have a few advantages. Number one, they have the invention of radar helps, a very rudimentary radar, but helps them detect attacks even at night. And also, they've cracked German code, which the Germans have assumed have not been cracked, and that helps them locate and attack those planes. But despite that, there's going to be heavy casualty losses from airmen on both sides. And out of aggression and frustration, Hitler's going to turn his attention to bombing civilian targets. And a big part of this Battle of Britain becomes the London Blitz, where the city would be bombed at night by German Luftwaffe planes, and civilians would have to scurry for cover under the sounds of sirens. And at night, cities would go dark as to not get targets for the Germans to attack. And it was intense, and it was intended to be psychological. Hitler was trying to break the will and the resolve of the British people, but yet they carried on and on. And historians suggest that Hitler never fully realized how damaged the German Luftwaffe, or how damaged the Royal Air Force really was. And out of aggravation, he turns his attention away from Great Britain and east. And it was the first great German mistake of the war.